And Derek, we end up with a massive amount of entries into the Circa Survivor this year.
Yeah, I mean, all-time record, the largest legal football contest in history, 9,267 entries. So, yeah, 9.2 million, biggest contest ever. I know what it was like last year when we were at 6.1 million. So it's just going to raise the stakes a little bit further. I know from Thanksgiving onward, it's going to be a whole lot of fun trying to figure out, map out the plan as you get to the promised land.
And the good news. No overlay.
Yes. Yes.
You got to stress that one, right?
Yes.
That's right. That was pretty amazing. We guaranteed the 8 million, and to come in at 9.2, $1.2 million over the guarantee. That was pretty cool. Pretty great.
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's cool. We got to see the breakdown of the entries. We had 353 people go with 10 entries, but I love the fact that the most popular choice was one, with 1,167 people that are taking one shot at all of this money to try and make it through the season perfect.
Yeah, sometimes you can get a lot of fun out of, for us, we got to drive, to California, Arizona to buy a lottery ticket. And one lottery ticket can give you a lot of enjoyment. So buying one is one thing. I mean, and we've had individuals, I believe, even last year that had a single entry into Survivor and cashed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really fascinating point. There's people who say, should I buy one? Should I buy 10? And I think there's people who do ultimately buy more entries, and they don't necessarily play them as optimally. But to Derek's point, there was 2 people last year who ended up winning Circa Survivor. They each won a little over $3 million each. But when you think about it, one was a group of 5 guys. They had a couple of silent partners, but they had a lot of entries, because they were able to go in as a group of 5 guys. And then you look at the other guy, he had 1 entry. One entry, made it through week 1 to week 20. So just kind of diametrically looking at the people who had 1 entry versus the people who have multiple entries, kind of interesting to see how people play it. I know we were talking obviously off air, and you said you put all of your picks on one specific team, whereas there's other people that ultimately break them up. So the fascinating thing obviously behind this contest is the game theory and the different angles and the different approaches that people take, and I think we're going to see that here as Derek starts to unveil the picks.
Yeah, you know what, the thing that I wanted to open with on this is I've never had a chance to do this ever. Usually, we talk about it's a pretty narrow field this week, or it's a wide field with 10 teams selected. I've never been able to open with this, and it's the fact that I only really need to announce 2 teams, and I'll explain why. And these 2 teams are the Miami Dolphins and the New York Giants. And the reason these 2 teams are so unique in the 2023 Week 1 Circa Survivor is because these are the only 2 teams out of 32 that were not selected. We've never had anything near this number before. 30 teams have been selected in Circa Survivor.
Wow.
Led off by I think what everybody would have figured, the Washington Commanders with 3,549 selections. So that's about 38% of the pool. Second selection was the Baltimore Ravens, the biggest favorite on the board, with 2,985 selections. Third was the Minnesota Vikings with 1,044. Fourth were the Seattle Seahawks with 600 selections, and coming in fifth were the Atlanta Falcons, 349. I'm not going to read through the next 25 teams because it'll just take too long, but I do want to make a couple comments. There are some unique selections. I found it intriguing that there are 2 selections on the Jets versus the Bills. I thought that was an interesting play. I thought it was interesting that there were 3 on the Texans against Baltimore, and I found it particularly interesting to know that there were 4 entries in Circa Survivor on the most faded team, the Arizona Cardinals. There were 4 entries on the Arizona Cardinals, and we were trying to figure out who made that selection. Maybe someone would think, and I could see this potentially as an angle. If you have 10 and you decide to put 9 on the Baltimore Ravens, maybe instead of putting the 10th, you take one on the Cardinals, just in case you have a massive upset, with the assumption you're going to have 40% or more of the pool on the Cardinals. Maybe there is a little thought of something along those lines.
2 other things to note that Derek didn't mention as well. We go into this week with 68 people already having lost. The Kansas City Chiefs, even though Kelsey didn't play, there were still 68 people that selected the Kansas City Chiefs, while 12 had the opposite side in the Detroit Lions. So 68 people have already lost week 1 here in Circa Survivor. And then the dreaded no pick. And I know we talked about this in the Circa Million. There were 31 people who didn't put their picks in for Survivor. So when you add those two up, 99 people already in the hole.
If we take a look at this, Jeff, we talk about the game theory aspect to all this, and that is the fascinating part, Derek, that you bring that up, because you do look at this, and it's easy to just laugh and say, like, what are you doing? Oh, man, you're taking a 10-point dog. But like I said, there might be some people who came in with 10 entries, and they're like, I don't want to be gone in week 1 should the biggest upset of the week happen, so I'm going to take a little sprinkle here and there.
Yeah, I mean, because really the key thing is you really make an assessment on the team that you like, and as we get further into this, like which teams you have available, but you're really trying to assess the pot. You're really trying to make an assessment on where you think the counts by popularity are going to break down. I know on a couple shows I was on earlier this week, I thought there would be more than 50% of the initial week 1 pool would be on the Commanders. Like I said, we ended up with 38%. So I think if you think that there was going to be a very, very high percentage on a certain team, sometimes it does make sense if you have enough selections to try to take a little bit of a different tack.
Well, I mean, to your point, Matt, when not only are you trying to pick a winner each week, you're also trying to forecast what the pool is going to do. And obviously, if you know that 50% or you think that 50% is going to select one team, that gives you the ability to pivot to a team that may be a little bit underutilized or undervalued in your eyes relative to what the pool thinks. And then, as always in Survivor, you're rooting for those big upsets. Half the pool goes down. You have a team that you played, maybe a little bit more of a contrarian approach to, which allows you to get to the next week where, half the pool goes down.
That's what made this Commanders team so interesting to me, because you're trusting Sam Howell, you're trusting Ron Rivera week 1 to get the job done. You are playing the Arizona Cardinals, who are, by all ways and means, atrocious here, right? Worst team in the NFL. But any given Sunday, that team can pull the upset. I was surprised. I was expecting it's going to be close to 50% too. When it came down to it, not quite that many people had the guts there to put that $1,000 on the Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting game. I think middle of the summer, the Cardinals open as if memory serves me correctly, like a short, less than a field goal favorite. Obviously Kyler's not playing. There was talk about whether it was going to be Toon or Dobbs. They traded their best defender. Hollywood Brown's hurt. But then you look at the other side and you got the Commanders, and this is Sam Howell's. I believe it's his first start. It's just kind of thinking back 2, 3, 4 months ago that the Commanders would be a touchdown favorite when a lot of people were talking about them as being one of the worst teams in football is certainly interesting. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, when you think about last year, the first 2, 3, 4 weeks were just diabolical in terms of how many entries we lost.
I'm aware, as I was no longer involved after week 4.
Well, the Colts aren't a big favorite in week 1, so we don't. The rest of the pool doesn't have to worry about that.
That's one thing a lot of people ask me, like, what did you like what happened last year? I tell you, no.
Yeah.
No, I don't want anybody to get knocked out now. I mean, we know what the pool is. It's $9.2 million.
Yeah.
I want everyone to enjoy this. I do not want to see the Commanders get upset. I don't want to see the Ravens or the Vikings get upset tomorrow. I want people to be excited about it. I mean, just in the last week, the number of people that come in that are still reminded me of getting knocked out in week 1 3 years ago, 2 years ago. If the Commanders lose on Sunday, that's 3,549 entries that aren't going to forget about this for a decade, and I'm going to hear about every one of them in long run.
I want to ask one question to the group that we can think about for obviously the rest of the season. How many entries do you guys think are going to go 20-0, and ultimately, if that's the case, split it at the end of the year? Obviously, there were 2 people last year that split. My number going into this season is 7.5 entries.
I was going to set it at 8.5. So we were right around the same page. I think you're going to see more than last year because we had utter chaos early last year and it got very difficult toward the end. My guess is we end up right around that 8 number.
Matt, Derek?
I think you're right about there too. I mean, the pool of entrants is up 50%. So you have that, and I think last year was a little bit more chaotic than an average Survivor year.
I'll take the over because I think that there could be 4 teams that end up being complete gutter trash this year that people are going to be able to pick on a lot, now how strategically they pick on them and but I think that there'll be a lot of teams that get picked on a lot. I'll take the over when it's all said and done. Derek, if you had one single bullet, who would you play this week?
I'd play the Commanders.
You'd have played the Commanders. Jeff?
Commanders.
Who are we most scared of?
Vikings.
I agree. I think it's the Vikings.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.